Hi, I'm Yoshi. Tonight, it changed the music industry forever. Now we'll give you the real story behind Napster and find out how you can use your DV camcorder as a net cam. Plus, see why this circuit board can turn any hard drive into a portable MP3 player. Live from the Tech TV studios in San Francisco, it's the Screensavers.
Welcome to another freshly brewed edition of the Screensavers.
I'm Leo Laporte. He's Patrick Norton. We are so glad you are here tonight, my friends. I don't know why, but we're glad. We got, this is the show where we answer your tech questions. What are you looking at me like that for?
Well, just like all of a sudden, like, very somber.
Very somber. Because it's a great show for you. But first,
today in Vietnam, the weather was...
yeah, let's see what happened around the world tonight. Here's the latest news.
As selected by us.
The people.
Not necessarily the Screensavers or Tech TV.
Did you get instant messaged by the RIAA last night?
No.
I did.
Really?
Yeah.
Why, Leo? Tell us why you got instant messaged by...
Because they don't like what I'm doing.
What you doing?
File swapping.
What kind of files you swapping?
Oh, all kinds of files.
Copyrighted files?
The RIAA has been using Instant Messenger. I think they're using the chat capabilities of things like Kazaa, Morpheus, and Grokster.
Yeah.
And they're actually, somebody from the RIAA is getting in there and sending you a message when you're like downloading stuff, warning you of, quote, real consequences, as opposed to imaginary consequences, for sharing copyrighted files. They say, this is what's really creepy and big brothery about the whole thing. File swappers are not anonymous, and you can be easily identified. I added that. That's editorial.
That's good. That probably was well within the tone of the message.
They probably sent a little happy or frowny face. I guess in light of that recent court ruling that said that Grokster and Morpheus were legal because they were legitimate, non-infringing uses of the programs, now the RIAA is getting a little freakazoid that maybe people are going to start using. You know what? They recently did a study of what's going on peer-to-peer file sharing services. It's not so much music.
What is it?
It's pornography.
Lovely.
Like 80% of it's porn. It's not about music anymore. People are actually not trading music as much. Now, I can just imagine John Holmes coming on saying, there may be real consequences. But so anyway, that's...
Still alive?
I don't know. I don't even know who he is. It's just they put that in the script.
Nonetheless.
No idea who Jenna Jameson is.
The battle over file swapping is far
I think this is really an interesting tactic. First, Madonna puts the fake MP3s, which I thought was good.
What the?
That had some style.
Yeah, panache.
It had some class.
An understanding of how the whole thing works.
Yes, but this going in the chat rooms is saying, you know, you can get in trouble.
You guys are naughty. I'm going to tell a teacher.
I don't know if that's convincing. So spam in the news, big spam day today.
Big spam
in
day
many ways.
Actually, earlier in this week, like Microsoft and Yahoo and AOL said, we're getting together and we're going to fight spam.
Well, that's the public sector.
Right.
The private sector. The public sector is also doing this. There's new laws. FTC's big meeting about spam actually started today. And they're all getting together. The FTC is actually just came out with a study that said that, here's a surprise, most spam, 2/3 of it, contains lies. You mean I can't make it bigger? Or that hair is going to grow back?
I can't reduce my debt in 7 days or less?
I don't know. Anyway, Virginia now has a law. This is the toughest one yet. What is the Virginia law?
Virginia law is pretty interesting. Well, actually, where did it go? I think it's actually a 5-year, up to a 5-year sentence. Let me see if we can find it in
It says, cracks down on fraudulent high-volume spammers and outlaw spammers for using, there's two things they do wrong. Fake email addresses. That's one. So you have to have, according to this law, a real return address.
Okay.
That's good because we can spam them back.
Yeah.
And then you also are, and this is, I think, probably is already illegal, but they add it to the law. You can't hack a PC to send spam. So you can't. Well, I think maybe they mean you couldn't spoof somebody else's address, or you couldn't use an existing mail service which they do all the time. They get on somebody,
Right.
some poor unwitting ISP has relays open, and the spammer floods through their ISP millions of mails.
Those found guilty could be subject to prison terms of 1 to 5 years and forfeiture of profits associated with the sending of deceptive
that.
bulk email.
I like that. That sounds good. I like that. Yeah. Also, now we're getting two new laws in Congress. Senator John Schumer of New York has got a bill in the Senate that will authorize the Federal Trade Commission to build no spam lists that are similar to those that operate now for telemarketers, where you can say, I don't want spam, don't send me any.
Just find that list and get my name on it.
Well, that's the problem. Then they say if a spammer ignores the list, you get fines and a jail term. I like Zoe Lofgren's law. Now, she is in the House of Representatives. She represents Silicon Valley, and she's introduced a bill that will require bulk spam. This is good. See, this is going to work. Bulk spam to include the word ad, like advertisement, in the subject line, of course, because then you can filter against it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, or you're a fraudulent spammer, you'd be forced to pay a bounty to the first person to catch you. Isn't that great? So if you get a spam, it doesn't say advertisement in the subject, and you report it, and the spammer has to pay you the fine. What that does is it basically empowers a posse of people to go out and...
Vigilante spam hunting.
Well, and that's what's interesting. This came from a proposal by Larry Lessig, the Stanford Law professor, constitutional expert we've talked to many times. The thing that Larry said that was interesting, he said, if this does not work, I will quit my job as a Stanford professor. Larry puts his job where his mouth is. Lawrence Lessig on the phone with us right now. Larry, that's bold.
Yeah, well, I figured it's about time that policymakers give a money-back guarantee with their policy
I
proposals.
love that. So is Zoe Lofgren's bill pretty much what you were proposing?
Yeah, it's exactly what I was proposing. I mean, the real question will be whether the FTC sets up a bounty which is large enough to give people an incentive. But if they do, then I've said it's going to work, or I'll walk.
Now, did I describe it accurately?
Exactly right. The idea is create a simple label requirement, and if they label it properly, then they can send all the spam they want. If they don't label it, then we've got a bunch of bounty hunters out there that will track them down and collect the bounty.
Aren't you a little concerned, though, that this is kind of encouraging vigilantism in some way?
Well, you don't have any right to go out and break their machines. This is not the RIAA's idea of ways to crack people's computers. But all it is you basically do a little bit of investigation. You call up the number that says that you can buy the human growth hormone for only $5 from this number. Call them up and verify that's the person. Connect who it is that sent this to you. Maybe track the email header information, and once you satisfy the FTC that you've proven who did it, then you get the bounty.
Well, here's the rub on all of this, of course, Larry, and I know you know this, but what's your response? Most of this spam, these illegal spammers that aren't going to put advertisement in the subject line, are offshore. That number doesn't connect to anything. There might be a fax line into a shadow company coming out of mainland China. How are you going to prosecute them?
Well, there's no way to get everybody, and all I've said is it's got to substantially reduce the spam. But if you can take care of the spam which has a connection to a real telephone number or something like that, then the filters can worry about the offshore spam.
Okay.
But the other thing to focus on is, this is not like people sending out viruses or worms. If they don't have an easy way for you to find them so that you can send them their money and they can, as part of their sucker trick to you, then they're not going to make any money from their spam. So they have a natural incentive to make it relatively easy for you to track them down, and to the extent it becomes harder to track them down, then it's harder for them to make money from you.
True. Now, you probably saw the Wired magazine kind of informal testing they did. They looked at a large number of spam, I can't remember what it was, 100 spam messages, and responded to them and found that more than the majority of these messages weren't really aimed at selling anything. They were merely aimed at harvesting your email address. By responding, you were in effect saying, yes, I'm a real email address, and then they would resell that address.
Yeah, that problem, I think, goes away as quickly as the incentive to be a spammer goes away. I mean, they're just building email lists, but it only makes money to build email lists if it makes money to sell spam.
So they'd be a secondary victim of this, because as soon as selling the list is worthless, then they're not going to do what they're doing.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Larry, you're a bold man.
Yeah, well, we'll see if it works.
Will you really quit your job?
Yeah, do you have any space for cameramen down there?
Larry, you should host this darn show.
Okay.
We love talking to you, and what I like about Larry is he's never been afraid of getting out there and putting it on the line. I love it when you said, you know, you should pay at least as much money to people protecting the public domain as you pay to companies like Microsoft and the recording industry who are shutting down the public domain. That was great. This is great. You are a hero, I think, for a lot of us, Larry, so I appreciate your time.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, he's going to be in studio, by the way, May 15th to talk more about this. I think he'll still have a job at that point anyway. Thank you, Larry Leslie.
Okay, bye.
Always great to talk to you. Don't go anywhere, folks. We got the scoop on hooking up your mini DV cam to your PC. This guy here did all the work, found the way to do it.
It's not that hard.
Well, don't say that.
Okay.
It's really hard,
It's
and if
really
you don't
hard.
watch, you'll never figure it out. And after the break, it was big. It was huge. So why did this fail when others succeeded? We'll get the scoop on the Napster story, the inside story, after the break. Our next guest covers the technology revolution for the Los Angeles Times. He's the author of a new book, fascinating book called All the Rave, The Rise and Fall of Sean Fanning's Napster. Today we're going to talk a little bit about a 17-year-old and how his program managed to really completely threaten the music industry and maybe change it forever. Joseph Menn, welcome to the Screensavers. It's great to have you. And I haven't read the whole thing, but the parts I've read, this is like National Enquirer meets PC Magazine. I mean, this is fascinating stuff in here.
Well, thanks. I hope it's not too National Enquirer.
Well, but that's true, though. That's what's amazing. And there's stuff that, you know, we've been following this story from the very beginning, of course, and everybody who was into Napster is pretty aware of Sean Fanning and what Napster did. But what we didn't know was what was going on behind the scenes, and there was a lot going on behind the scenes. Sean Fanning came from kind of a troubled home.
Yeah, it was a really rough upbringing. He was, his folks weren't married when he was born. He spent some time on welfare. He lived in foster care for a little while. Just didn't have a lot of money, and he really turned to programming pretty early as his ticket out. And he just had incredible focus and
a natural aptitude for it.
Yeah, he's a really smart kid.
So before he even went to college, he was programming.
Yeah, he started in high school, which is actually later than a lot of the other kids that got involved.
What were his early programs like? I mean,
well, they were, I guess you'd call them gray hat. There was, and this is something that the public doesn't know. He wrote a denial of service attack program, and he wrote a port scanner. And, you know, I'm not sure that a lot of people ever use the programs, but they're out there. They're up on the web.
Well, a lot of people would say Napster was gray hat. Was it intended to be a music stealing program? What was his original intent with it?
Not at all. He was interested in it from a technical perspective. I mean, he didn't see that there was any reason why you couldn't marry the breadth of a Spider, a search engine like Google or AltaVista, with presence awareness like AOL Instant Messenger that knows who's got what. Because if you are only searching what's available right then you know the music's there. The problem was that the links were dead and you could never find the MP3s. And he just saw it as a technical issue and a real challenge, and he got inspired by the fact that people told him he couldn't do it. It wouldn't work.
Right. It's actually a brilliant conception, and really is a revolution, but which has unfortunately been kind of obscured by this whole music stealing stuff.
It's really unfortunate. It's been adopted now by a lot of the Fortune 500, the government. Intel says it saved $1 billion using peer-to-peer.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a revolution.
Absolutely.
So, did Sean come up with the idea? How did that happen?
Absolutely Sean's idea, and he wrote the first version of the program. He needed some help to get it to scale, and he had feedback from Internet Relay Chat group, a lot of pretty senior engineers in a variety of jobs, academics. And then he got some help on the server side in particular from a number of engineers, including Jordan Ritter, Ali Adar, and Jordan Mendelsohn.
Right.
So there are some really talented people who worked there, and none of them got really any recognition because Sean was the cover boy.
Did they get rich?
Nobody got rich.
Not even Sean?
Not even Sean, except for Sean's uncle. He was the one that got
Now,
rich.
that's an interesting part of the story. John Fanning, his uncle, kind of moved in on this whole thing. How did he get involved?
Well, he was a father figure for Sean. Sean's real father was out of the picture, and you know, it was John Fanning who was he fancied himself a very successful businessman. And Sean was hanging around him when he was younger. John gave Sean his first computer. He gave him a car. He didn't make all the payments on the car. It got repossessed, but he did give him a car. And you know, he looked up to John, and John incorporated Napster not long after Sean had told him about it.
Interesting. So he was the grown-up. I mean, Sean's
He
only
was the grown-up.
17 years old.
Exactly. Unfortunately, you can't choose your family, and John kept 70% of the company. So Sean never controlled Napster Inc., not from day one.
Did John rip off his nephew?
I wouldn't use that word. I think it's interesting that despite John's claims to the contrary, he did not contribute to the technology.
Right.
Sean has testified in documents that aren't public, and he probably got about $1 million out of it, which is 5-6 times, perhaps as much as Sean got.
But not anywhere near the kinds of riches that many of the other
No,
dot-com
no.
folks
Well,
made.
and John thought it was going to be $1 billion.
Yeah.
So a lot of people thought it was going to be billions.
And it might have been had the RIAA come after them with all guns a-blazing. 1999, the beginning, things are going great for Napster. When did it start turning sour?
Well, I would argue that it started going sour when John kept 70% of the company.
Yeah.
Because what I found in reporting the book is that there were a number of chances where they could have gone straight. They had serious investors with experience who looked at the legal situation and said, we got a problem here. And then they looked at John and they said, oh, we got another problem
Yeah,
here.
two
And they said, we
problems,
could
yeah.
take one or the other, but not both.
Oh,
And so
interesting.
they kept choosing the more radical fork.
Right.
And the basic business plan was to extort from the record industry. We're going to get, whether it's legal or not, we're going to get so big that the record industry will want to settle
They
with us.
have to deal with us.
Yeah, because we have all their customers. We know more about their customers than the record industry does.
Wow, an interesting strategy. Now, of course, Hummer Winblad is being sued right now. They were the venture capital fund that gave them $100 million. And the RIAA is saying that, well, Hummer knew that this was going to be an illegal service. How accurate do you think that is?
That's a tough call. Hummer put in $13 million,
13,
and
I'm
then
sorry.
some operating expenses. Bertelsmann, even more incredibly, poured in another $85
A
million.
big music company, one of the big five.
Yeah, and they're getting sued for $17 billion in
Right.
February by songwriters.
Right.
So there's a lot of lawsuits still flying. I mean, it's going to take a long time to sort this out. What did Hummer know? Hank Barry, who was the interim CEO of Napster and a partner in Hummer Winblad, truly believed that Napster would win in court. It's just that he was one of the minority. And you could certainly argue that they didn't do enough research into it. They hadn't seen a lot of the bad internal emails that, have them talking about piracy.
And they weren't pushing piracy as a plan, as a strategy.
No, but they took a hard line in negotiations. Another thing that people don't know is that Napster was actually pretty close a number of times to cutting a deal.
A number of music companies.
They were pretty close to cutting a deal. At one point, Bertelsmann would have paid $250 million to the other labels. And I talked to Edgar Bronfman, and he said that he thought they were going to get there when they were talking to Hank Barry back in the summer of 2000 when things were going crazy. And then Andy Grove called Hank Barry and said, don't do it. Said,
Really?
you can't let the record industry control Napster. It's too important. And then Hank took a much harder line in the talks, and it all fell apart.
Bad advice from somebody who normally gives pretty good advice. It sounds like Andy Grove had the same kind of misapprehension a lot of people did, that this was a technology that transcended the courts, transcended the music industry's interests, and would survive somehow just because it was the right thing. Is that what you would say? Or?
Yeah, I think that's fair, and in a lot of ways that's true. It's just that the facts in this case were so bad that unfortunately it's caused so much backlash. I mean, the RIAA can look at the internal documents, which are really bad, look at the fact that of 100 Napster users, 100 are sharing copyrighted files.
Right.
You got a serious problem there. And
Right.
then they, armed with the precedent of the ruling against Napster, then they can go after the Groksters in the world and the Kazars
Right.
and so forth and so on.
Sean Fanning seemed to kind of be baffled by the whole media circus, when Metallica's drummer went after him and all this stuff. I remember seeing pictures of Sean just not going, what happened here? Was he kind of just unwitting victim of this whole thing?
I think he knew he was pushing the envelope a little bit, but he knew that wasn't what he was good at.
Right.
And
He's a programmer.
He's a programmer, that's right. And he left, he and the other kids, including like the business-minded kids, I think were really smart, nice, honest, hardworking folks.
Right.
And the problem was that they trusted the grown-ups. And the grown-ups, the managers, the investors, they were worse than the kids. They're the ones that didn't do the due diligence they should have, didn't really investigate, and made some real bad calls.
What's happened to them all now?
Well, Sean's got another stealth internet music startup.
Good.
She doesn't like talking a lot about it on
Good.
account of it's a stealth
Right.
project. But he believes it's a logical successor to Napster in a lot of ways.
Right.
He's looking, we should be hearing more about that soon. Jordan Ritter co-founded CloudMark, which is a spam fighting company.
And done very well. We've recommended it. It's a good product.
And Sean Parker, who was described as the co-founder, he's as young as Sean is and was more the business side. He's got a startup called Plaxo Inc., which manages your email contact information.
What about John Fanning?
John Fanning is still in Home, Massachusetts. He's got a bunch of startups. Haven't heard a lot from them. It's going to be movies. It's going to be Napster. It's going to be big. You know, we'll see what investors think.
Fascinating read. You can actually read an excerpt from Joseph's book on our website at thescreensavers.com. It really, I mean, it's hard to believe this actually all happened in the last 4 years. It's just amazing, but it's something that we all lived through, and to see what was really going on is even more fascinating. Read it online, thescreensavers.com, and get the book. It's called All the Rave, in bookstores right now from Crown. Stay put. We're going to tell you where to find European keyboards. You need some? We got them. And up next, Patrick will show you how you can use your home DV camcorder as your own personal net cam using FireWire, and it looks good. But first, pay close attention because Nicole has a web tip for you.
All right, you know you love the screensavers. We all love the screensavers, but it's time to prove it. Head on over to our website, scroll down, and look for that link right there. It's a list of the Screensavers fan sites. We've collected all the sites of fans that are mad for it and even submit your own. So if we've missed it, shoot me an email. Stick around, the Screensavers is coming right back.
Hey, don't forget to register for this week's Screensavers LAN party powered by NVIDIA. We're doing a wild one today. It's kind of scary. This is for grown-ups only. Quake 3 Urban Terror. It's a mod to Quake 3 that is a little bit like Half-Life Counter-Strike. Grab a machine gun, your Kevlar vest, attack your friends in a battle on the streets. You're going to love it. You must own the full version of Quake 3 to play this, and the mod file is big, so start downloading it now.
200 megabytes.
200 meg. Wow. Go to thescreensavers.com. Register by clicking Join Our LAN Party. You also find links to the software you need right there, and we'll see you, it's tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Thursday. Screensavers LAN Party, unless you're watching this tomorrow, in which case it's today.
Right.
And if you're watching this weekend, forget it. It's over.
You missed it. But we'll have a great game next week.
Yes, we will.
So go to thescreensavers.com. In the meantime, the other day a caller asked us why their DV camcorder wouldn't work with NetMeeting. They had something like this. This is a Hi8 digital camcorder. Any kind of DV camcorder could be a mini DV camcorder. The thing is, it's got the FireWire out. Some of these actually have a built-in USB out, and chances are that will work perfectly fine.
You won't need anything if you've got the USB.
Exactly. But if you want,
and if you have an analog out and a capture card, you won't need anything either.
Exactly.
It's this DV thing that's the
this
problem.
DV
The FireWire.
This nutty DV thing.
Okay.
DWE thing.
DWE thing.
DWE thing. Anyhow, we're going to fire this up on NetMeeting.
I think it's crashed because I don't see an image out of it there.
Well,
It's
it
not
wasn't
moving.
turned on.
Oh, there it is. It's moving now. Okay.
And that's actually the one from that system.
This system?
Yeah, go ahead and close HyperTerminal on there.
Okay.
Anyhow, Orange Micro's Webcam DV 2.0 is a piece of software that essentially bridges the gap between DV and your NetMeeting client, which Leo's popping up right here, right? We use NetMeeting all the time on the show.
Why am I gray?
Go ahead and hit that play pause button down in the lower left.
Play pause button in the lower left.
That's
I
the
did.
one.
I hit it, and it's not doing anything.
Wow.
Hey, why don't I call you?
Okay.
You know, of course, this is all working moments ago.
Just moments ago.
Why do we
Anyhow,
rehearse? Why? Tell me why.
Because we like to get all comfortable before we go live on air.
That's
Anyhow,
all a big lie.
Orange Micro's Webcam DV 2.0. It's a free download. And what it does is essentially creates a NetMeeting was created with the original version of Windows Video, Video for Windows VFW.
Oh, mine's working. It's yours that's not working.
Oh, well. You sure about that?
I don't need to play with this anymore. Yeah, see, this is you. See? Look, see?
Ah,
Yeah, there it
that's
is.
really scary.
So if you have a normal netcam like this, when you go to Tools, Options, and Video, it's going to be very simple. You're going to actually see the driver right here. But if you plug in a FireWire camera, you don't see anything there. But that's because it has to be video for Windows for it to work with NetMeeting.
And Microsoft drew a line in the sand when they started doing DV support for 1394 devices, and they said, we're not going to do a video for Windows for it. We're going to have it within DirectShow, within DirectX. We're going to have the possibility you'll be able to create a wrapper, but they didn't want to do that. They basically wanted to let NetMeeting quietly die while they did interesting and exciting things with,
So
what's that program I automatically turn off?
MSN Messenger.
Yeah.
We hate that. So what did Orange Micro do to make this work?
Essentially, what they did is they built a 1394 DV driver. This is my loose interpretation, is they would have to create a wrapper for VFD based on the DirectShow 1394 driver.
Okay.
Which basically means they built a driver for
Basically,
DV
a
cameras.
FireWire driver that'll look like video for Windows.
Once
All right,
you
so
load it-
why don't you call me? I'm sending, just so we can see what the difference in quality, which is substantial. Remember, this 3Com NetCam is a $100 NetCam. It only, unfortunately, has probably a 5-cent
Right.
lens in there, and it's not, and it's USB, so they can't even if it had decent video coming in, it wouldn't look that great.
So what's your IP
You need to
address?
call me. Here, I'll tell you right now.
Okay.
All right, we're going to do about Windows Net Meeting. 64-2-43, and then those last three numbers that everybody's looking at on national television. 142. I might as well tell you since you can see it. 142. Don't all call me at once, will you? Okay.
Yeah. Do us a small favor there.
All right, now you're calling me. I'm going to accept that. Now, in theory, I should see your image, and you should see my image any minute now. It's good because we only have a minute left.
Yeah, we probably managed to lock up everything.
Was working great in rehearsal. Man, that looked good. Didn't it look good, Steve? Yeah, it looked good. Didn't it look good, Ken? Yeah, it looked good. Yeah. Really looked great. And in fact, it looked better. To the DV cam, didn't it look better than the little cheap? Yeah, much better. Much better. Yeah. Okay.
So, what's going on?
Well, there's our side-by-side comparison. Steve and Ken agree. 2 out of 3 floor directors agree. The DV camera looks better than the USB camera.
Yeah. But it also costs a lot
You
more.
want to show them a box or anything?
Orange
Give
Micro,
them something to look at?
webcam DV.
I blame myself.
$20.
I blame myself because Call for Help went downhill like right away from the show, and I'm still going downhill. So it's my fault.
So basically, you're saying you brought your bad karma.
My bad karma
Just
from the
rolled
last
over my
show
dogma.
just went over, and now I'm starting to get
No, we'll get
spam
this set
and all
up and
sorts
we'll
of
get it
stuff.
running in the background. The truth is, folks, Orange Micro Webcam DV
It
2.0
solves
will
the
allow you to
problem.
use the 1394. It's pretty much no other solution out there unless you're going to write a driver yourself. You want to learn more about the product? I basically wrote up what I learned and talked about VFW versus later DirectShow stuff. Go to thescreensavers.com, please. You'll learn everything we weren't able to show you here on
Don't go away. In a little bit, Patrick's going to fry this MP3 player one more time.
Yeah!
And and if he doesn't, we'll show you it working. And Christine's on the phone. She wants to buy a non-English keyboard. We'll show her where to get one and how to get it to work on Windows in just a little bit. Plus, we'll streamline your startup with Nicole's Windows tip. It's all ahead when the Screensavers continue.
Welcome back to the Screensavers. He's Leo Laporte. I'm Patrick Norton.
My daughter just IM'd me. She wants to know my password.
For what?
So she can play Sims online. Like, heck. And then she says, what's that icon you have? You know, I have
What happened to that last segment, Dad?
Yeah, really. Your show is just bad. Christine on the line from Lawrence Center, Pennsylvania. Hi, Christine. She's saying, Abby's saying, now, should I start saving for college myself now? Because I can see this career is not going anywhere. What can we do for you, Christine?
Yeah, I would like to get a European keyboard for my computer.
Oh, cool. What language do you want to type in?
German.
German. Oh, yeah, you do need a special keyboard. Because
Yes.
if it were French, you wouldn't really, because you can do all the diacritical marks. But German,
Yes.
German actually has a few different letters, don't they?
Yes.
Right? There's like the F.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's like what's like the sh sound or something?
The umlauts.
Yeah. Well, that's not just the diacritical marks. There's actually different letters.
Umlaut.
Yeah, the umlauts. Umlauts and stuff like that you can do
Yeah.
easily. In fact, you don't even really need. Are you going to do this a lot? Like, are you going to type all the time in German, or just once in a while?
Once in a while.
You don't. You can actually. They have a soft keyboard in Windows. What version of Windows are you using?
ME.
ME may not have this.
No, I think it's the
feature.
Windows keyboard properties stuff.
Yeah, there's XP has a soft keyboard where you can actually even do things like Chinese, Japanese, and Korean by pulling up the soft keyboard and clicking the keys. So if you're
Yeah.
not going to do it a lot, I mean, how many times do you do the FF? If you're not going to do it a lot, you could probably get away with that. If all you want is just, you know, I want a keyboard that has the special diacritical marks on a few of the letters, it's very easy to find. There are a number of companies in the United States that sell international keyboards. If you just do a Google search for international keyboard, you can easily find that.
I see.
And they're basically, because, you know, they sell them in Europe, right? The PC's a PC, so it's very easy. In fact, remember we got a bunch of interesting Prager got those, right? Wasn't you, David, that got like all sorts of weird keyboards from all around the world? Yeah. Where did you get those? Do you remember off the top of your head?
I'll look it up.
Yeah, we'll find it. We'll put a link to it, Christine, because that was a good company. They had some really neat keyboards.
And there's some good web pages online that outline how to basically take advantage of what's built into Windows to allow you to type out foreign language.
If you're not doing it very often, basically all you have to do is enable the foreign language keyboard thinger in the keyboard control panel. And then if you look around, I think this is XP only, there's actually a soft keyboard. Okay, Christine? Thank you for the call. We appreciate it. Now it's time for a Windows tip. Nicole, our lovely web producer, has the scoop for us today. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, Leo. As a web producer, one of my jobs is to keep an eye on incoming viewer mail. And in between the "we hate the new schedule" and "we love Kevin" messages, I do find the occasional technical question. One of the ones I see all the time is, how do I get these useless programs out of my startup menu? Well, we've answered it before, but it's a good one, so I'm going to answer it again. If you're using 98ME or XP, you have a tool built in to manage these options. It's called Microsoft System Configuration Utility, or msconfig. To access it, type msconfig in your run command and click OK. You're going to click on this Startup tab and you'll get a list of all of the programs that are configured to start under your startup. You can uncheck anything you don't absolutely need, but here's a warning. If you don't recognize it and you're not sure, leave it in. To make the changes take effect, you just need to reboot, start up, you're good to go. Now, if you're using Windows 2000 or NT, you don't have msconfig. One simple solution we don't often mention is just to copy msconfig from Windows 98 or Windows XP. It's located in the System32 folder, so just save it onto some form of removable media, and you can run it directly from the media on your NT or 2000 machine. But another alternative we recommend is Mike Lynn's Startup Panel. This tool works on any version of Windows, and in some ways it's actually better than msconfig. You're going to download it from Mike's site. We've got the link on the screensavers.com, and when you unzip it, you'll get this startup key in your control panel. Double click on it, you'll get this nice friendly little interface that will allow you to control what programs launch during startup, either by user or by system. You can set up services to run as well. It's got a lot of power, it's easy to use, it rocks. For links, instructions, check out my article. Actually, it's Leo's article on
you stole this. I recognize that.
It is. It's Leo's article.
Okay.
Or if you've got any other fun downloads, email them to me, NicoleC@techtv.com. Leo and Pat, over to you guys.
Don't worry, I'll be stealing your articles. Plenty of them for the almanac, so
I'm used to that.
it'll all be even. Thank you, Nicole. Hey, we found David Prager found his article that he wrote in way back when on foreign keyboards for Windows. We call them international keyboards. They're not foreign because many of our viewers are international. And this is customkeys.com, and they sell international keyboards for all different languages. I can't remember, Farsi. We got some really interesting languages. So they're a nice company. They were very helpful to us. He also has in that article, which we've linked now on the show notes, how to add different language support within Windows so that you can easily add those keystrokes. So
there's a couple
of
articles up there.
Very nice. Stay where you are, folks. Cookies are a pain, right? So turn them off. We're going to show our next caller why you may not want to disable cookies. True. Also, coming up, I'm going to show you how to take one of these. Actually, Patrick is going to do this. One of these. One of what?
Oh,
one of those.
We left it behind a hard drive.
He's going to show you how to take a hard drive and turn it into a homemade MP3 player. Don't throw the hard drive.
Don't throw the hard drive.
No, he threw the hard drive. When the Screensavers continues. Oy, oy, oy.
Folks at Tech Live and see what's coming up tonight.
Where should I look? Oh, there we are.
Over here.
Hi,
hey,
Michaela.
Look, I got to show you my sneakers.
Those are beautiful.
I'm going to a Giants game today, and they're for good luck for the Giants.
All right.
Good luck sneakers.
Good luck sneakers.
Everybody needs those. We need those on our show. Listen, I got to cut to the chase here. X-Men 2 is hitting theaters this Sunday, and I, for one, cannot wait. More good mutants, more bad mutants, more everything. Tonight on our show, we're going to give you a little behind-the-scenes look at the making of the much-anticipated, highly awaited sequel, and I gotta tell you, this baby is chock full of special effects. It is a dream come true for some of us kind of geeks. And of course, there's a lot of new characters. Ooh, there's one right there. The Wolverinette. I don't even know all the names, but I love this stuff. We've got that and a whole lot more Wolverinette. What am I? Thank goodness I'm not
What
actually
is
in
her
LA. I
name?
get mocked out of town. Her name, I don't know, but I know Storm, Halle Berry Storm.
Storm is great.
And she's got
But
a new haircut, too. Which
Lady
is kinda
what?
cool.
Lady, they're telling me her name is Lady Deathstrike?
That, I believe that. In fact, I think I might
kinda
take
like
that as my screen
Wolverinette.
name from now on.
Lady Deathstrike Pereira.
Yes. It has a ring, don't you think?
I always wanted adamantine claws.
Really?
Oh, Wolverine is cool. I love Wolverine.
Wolverine's very cool.
But you gotta love Rebecca Romijn Stamos and her rubber suit or whatever that is.
And
she's
then
wearing.
what's his? Oh, we could just go on and on. I know you
yeah.
got to get back to your
Oh,
show.
yeah.
We'll talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
this later. Okay.
Thank you, Michaela. Enjoy the game.
Thank you.
Go Giants! Jinx, you owe me a Coke. And that's what's coming up on Tech Live.
Right after this show.
Yes.
Assuming we survive it. Back in the day, a hard drive MP3 player you could easily drop $700 on one. That's why I was so excited. You're just waiting.
Just waiting for something wrong, something bad to happen to this demo.
Deep, breathe in.
Because this, well, actually, no, something already wrong happened to this demo.
Yes.
We had this scheduled for a month ago. It canceled it because you fried.
I fried this little gadget here.
So now
is inverter.
everything's back. So it can't. It's already gone wrong.
We're going to put it together. We
just
don't
went
have
wrong.
much time.
Okay,
So
let's
we're
do
gonna
it.
talk about this. So the PGRC.com's MP3 player essentially started out as an MP3 player project. You'd have to add a power supply and a hard drive. And you
So it's a
basically
little
got this board.
motherboard,
It's a little motherboard, basically, and you've got RCA jacks out, and you've got a headphone out, and you've got a bunch of different ways to put power in. You can
But
do
it's a kit.
Well, it's a kit.
It doesn't come with it.
It's very DIY. Because
Yeah.
when I first bought this, actually, you know, it would play and it would pause, and the volume kind of worked. The random play definitely did not work, but it was pretty cool.
And that's all in the firmware?
It's all in the firmware, and
Okay.
the firmware they've been working on for like 3.5 years.
Is it
now.
DOS or is it its own operating system?
You know what?
You
I
can't
have
tell.
no clue.
It's just-
Because I don't really read the little A's
Right.
and B's and C's that come across in
Right,
the
right.
hexadecimal. But if you look at PGRC.com, basically it comes as a project. You can buy the board. I bought it assembled because I know how well I don't solder.
Right.
So I decided to get it assembled. So, but the memory, they started using that about a year ago, and that, of course,
a little
caches.
SIM, I see,
Exactly,
yeah.
caches the MP3 data off the hard drive. Hard drive, in this case, for this demo, I'm going to use this one right here. But it'll actually power a 2.5-inch hard drive, a notebook hard drive. So if you want to make it a portable unit,
Good.
the 12-volt input's really good for that. And what came out about a year and a half later, I hope I have the dates right on this, is this thing, which is what we had.
This is what broke.
Well, what broke was actually, if you look in here, we have a big old piece of electroluminescent material. It's a backlight for
Don't
this
pull on
screen.
it. Okay.
That wasn't the problem. The problem was I was using a power supply
Instead of a 9-volt battery.
instead of a 9-volt battery, and
It's
I
a little bit
leaned
of a
on
difference.
it. So go ahead and hit the power supply. I'm pretending I'm okay. I'll hit the power supply.
No, you don't want me to touch it.
Stay away.
Okay, so,
And we
so that's going to boot up the drive.
only if I actually plug the power supply into the.
Oh, it's getting worse by the minute. I just can tell the thing is going to fry.
Is it going to fry? You may have killed it, Leo. It's kind of impressive. No. It's actually not booting. This is really, you know, Leo. Oh, there it is. We just had the
thank
brightness set up too high.
Okay.
And you actually see what it'll
Oh,
actually
look at that.
do. And if I plug the hard drive cable in correctly, it'll actually boot up, find the hard drive, and show that.
It's plugged in.
It's plugged in. Well, I think I'd actually plug the cable in backwards. Otherwise,
Okay.
you'd be hearing this and it would be starting up in here.
Yeah,
but what's
it's not
interesting is you look at it.
Maybe I shouldn't be really fiddling with this right now.
What's the worst you can do?
You want to know? No, I won't touch
No, I don't. So I'm going to click this in. If you want to do firmware upgrades on it, you actually
got
have
a serial
to use
connector.
HyperTerminal
Okay.
over a serial connection. So it's really, I mean, it's really like working on
But this is fun.
a project. It's fun. And it's
I mean,
been
you could
amazing to
go
see what
out
people
and
come up
buy
with.
an Arcos jukebox or an iPod, but this is fun. This is basically what's in those things, kind
Yeah.
of compressed into custom stuff.
And if you go up on the PRGC, you can actually see now in HyperTerminal we're running up here as it's actually going through and logging in as it.
So you could
finds
update the
everything on hard
firmware
drive.
via this serial card. Could you do your own firmware? Could you modify
You do your own
it?
firmware, and what people have actually done, you can see it's actually showing the list and the playing. This is the big blue screen. I've so wanted to show everyone.
That's nice.
And so it's actually big enough to read, which is a really nice
with lots
thing.
of information that you don't normally get.
Tons of information, and a control panel and a set of buttons. Now, if we go back over to the computer over here, like I said, there's the hyper to the terminal where we can actually run in there. Oh, we don't have scan app. I'm so sad, so I can't show you that. But PGRC.com.
You could turn it around. They could shoot it.
That's true.
See that? There we go.
But you can actually watch when it logs up. If we restart it, you can actually watch it as it discovers that it's an MP3 player and loads up everything
neat.
inside of that. If you want to
Oh,
load, you
that's
actually use
great.
HyperTerminal to send new information down to it, to turn it, if you want to add additional features, which is what
That's
I've
my
been doing
favorite
on an
part.
app for the last 2 or 3 years.
That's the
People have come up
snowstorm.
with amazing stuff. They've come up with a USB adapter, they've come up with IR adapters for it. PJRC.com, the MP3
Very cool.
player.
is where to get it. It starts at about $150 without the panel. It's not cheap, right? You're better off, I'll be honest with you, if you just want something that runs right out of the box, go buy an iPod.
Right.
If you want
No,
the
no, this is a
opportunity
project.
to, yeah, if you want
This
the
is like a
opportunity
Heath
to
kit.
build something in there,
Yeah.
because people have done some really crazy stuff. They've all
I
built
love this.
cases and come up with new and
No,
exciting
I think this
ways
is really
to,
fun.
to
All
box
sorts
it
of
in.
ways to put it together, sure.
Exactly. So
Build
fun
your own
stuff.
MP3 player with all the parts.
And I'll even tell you about my terrible saga of burning out the inverter. And I also want to quick thanks to CoolNeon.com over in Berkeley, who hooked me up with a new power inverter so I could power it this time with some, gentle advice about not blowing it out. If you want the scoop on the project, hit thescreensavers.com for my spiel.
Hey, stay tuned after the break, folks. Travis cannot view pages. Why? Well, he's disabled cookies and JavaScript.
Ooh.
He wants to know how to turn it on, but we're going to talk a little bit about why you may or may not want to turn off some of those features when the Screensavers continues.
At least you want to be a part of it.
Right.
Intrepid Travis joins us on the phone from Newman, Georgia.
Hello, Travis.
Have you braced yourself?
I have.
You got a question for us?
Yeah, what I was trying to do is get JavaScript and cookies enabled because I'm trying to download from a website.
A lot of websites don't, if you don't have cookies enabled, won't let you get online. Now, I understand people, did you disable them, Travis?
I think so.
Yeah, you probably did. It's in the security preferences of Internet Options. You're using Internet Explorer, I take it.
Yes.
Yeah. Patrick's going to do it for us right now. Actually, it's in privacy. It might be in privacy for...
So basically,
yeah, there you go.
Did you modify the settings inside of Internet Explorer, Travis?
I don't remember doing it, but probably so.
Yeah, well, it's easy to do because all you do is you change your security level or your privacy level, and without your even knowing it, that's what's going to happen. Now, cookies is in the privacy area, and the JavaScript is actually in the advanced options, so you can disable JavaScripting. The truth is, you kind of need those for a lot of sites. For instance, my site, if you don't use cookies, you won't be able to see which, on the message boards, which messages you've read or not. It's sometimes seen as an invasion of privacy. In most cases, cookies are not. They're benign. They're merely a way of a site remembering where you were before, what your password is, that kind of thing. If you disable
what you're
those,
shopping for at the Pottery Barn.
Yeah, exactly. A shopping cart won't work without cookies.
Yeah.
So I personally leave cookies on. Do you leave them on?
For the most part, every so often I run through and I run, one of the spy blocking software.
Cookie washer or something, and you delete
to clean
the
it
cookies.
out.
Yeah.
But the truth is, Travis, is you want to browse and get the interesting features. In
Nowadays,
most cases, you're going to have to accept cookies.
Yeah, sorry to say.
Yeah.
Thanks for the call. We appreciate it. Stick around. More Screensavers right after this. Be sure to catch tomorrow's show. We're going to have a good one. We're going to give you the technology to read your cat's brain. And what? Car's brain?
Car,
Oh, well, that's not nearly as interesting. And we'll take a look at Chandler, a new promising open source program with Chris DeBona, and I'm all agog at my new color printer. This thing is incredible. I'll tell you all about it on tomorrow's thrilling, gripping edition of the Screensavers. Is that too hard?
Don't throw in the towel.
We could have been a contender.
Oh, boy. We got time.
We have time.
We have time.
1 minute we have.
There we go. That's an odd one.
Hello.
I'd like a batch file that is time activated. What exactly does a time activated batch file mean?
Oh, you see, in
It's like
Unix,
trip
that's
over the
easy because you
stairs.
use the cron program is running in the
Right.
background, and you can set it. Well, I think you're going to have to use a third-party shareware program that will... Oh, wait a minute. You have the task scheduler can do
Right.
that. So you use the Windows task scheduler to trigger the batch file.
Right.
So that you don't put it in the batch file. You use the task scheduler.
Or you can put it in the task scheduler itself. Use it kind of like a
Yeah,
batch file.
yes, exactly. You can either call a batch file or call whatever program you want to
We got like 20 seconds to do a fast one here. My new XP program won't accept my old scanner and a camera. Please help. I'm assuming you're talking about Windows XP, the operating system. And yeah, you have an older Canon scanner and an older Kensington camera.
Oh,
Here's
this
the
is a big problem.
In a lot of cases, people have not written. Remember we talked about VFD,
didn't do
the driver support.
drivers.
They didn't do driver support for Windows XP. Search, beg, and plead. Because Microsoft says the vendors should do it, and the vendors say Microsoft should
I
have
think
done
the
it.
vendors
and
should do it. It's an old piece of hardware, but if you want to support it, they're going to support it.
Or if you want them to buy your
not
stuff in
Microsoft's,
the future.
yeah.
That is it. We got a scoop for this edition of the Screensavers. I'm Patrick Norton.
God, this is over. I'm Leo Laporte. Hey, we
No
want
one
to thank
was
our
killed.
guests. No one was hurt. Joseph Menn and Larry Lessig. Have a great evening. We'll see you later.